bought a lot of bike stuff over my time on planet Earth, and most of it has been fantastic, but some of it's been terrible. Here's some of the worst ones, but I want to point out before we start that some of these will be fantastic products, they were just bad for me personally. Number 1, solid tires. Turns out there's a reason we put air in our tires. Yes, solid tires exist and they will guarantee no punctures. The dream. Problem is, they are a bone-shaking ride. And we bought a couple of examples of solid tires to test. The first ones were from Tannis, the most legitimate company that makes solid tires, and we installed them on my Scott Foil carbon racing bike. Installation was an absolute nightmare. I got pretty good at putting tires on rims. I used to work in a bike shop, that's what we do all day. And these things, it was a two-man job.
If this Robin slaps and I get stabbed, it's gonna snap in half. We should have made the smoke tension before and after. Well, that's my gym session for the week done.
You have these tiny little plastic inserts that you first have to put in all around the wheel, which hold in the tire so it doesn't come off as you ride. And then just levering the tire on. Oh.
Like that hurts my hand.
The second tires I bought had holes in them to create comfort? They didn't work at all, and they felt just as bad as the Tannis tires. And what's more, they didn't have the little plastic things, so they really could come off as you rode. Money well spent in the name of science. Speedplays. Those little lollipop pedals that have now been bought by Wahoo. I bought a couple of sets a few years ago at great expense, over £100 a pair, to then find out that the cleats cost around £30 to replace. It's sort of a reverse pedal system where the pedal is small and plasticky, but the cleat has the mechanical fastening bits. Combine this with me walking around way too much in my cycling shoes, it led to being extremely expensive. I bought a couple of replacement cleats and then I gave up and went back to Shimano pedals. They do have some great benefits. They're double-sided, so generally they're easier for beginners. They're very serviceable, the pedal bodies at least. You can squeeze new grease into the axles and keep them going for longer. They're low stack, so you can pedal around corners without hitting the ground. They are massively adjustable, so if you're having bike fit issues or you need the adjustability, they used to have fore-aft extenders and you can get long axle versions of the pedals as well. I'm not sure those things still exist with Wahoo's acquisition. I didn't need any of those features, so they just ended up costing a lot. To finish, the cleat, once slightly worn, develops a lateral rock. I really noticed this, some people don't. For me, I ended up getting knee pain as soon as that occurred. Try them at your own risk, perhaps the new ones from Wahoo are better. The AliExpress Physique Fake Saddle. We've bought some stuff from AliExpress that's turned out to be awesome, but this saddle was not one of them. There's loads of copies of legitimate products on AliExpress at really enticing prices. None of them are worth it. We bought a 3D printed Physique Antares versus Evo at a price that was too good to be true. And as predicted, the build quality was terrible. Firstly, the top peeled off really easily. I need to find some better super glue. Second, the rails were flexy and flimsy, and Jimmy quite easily ripped the whole saddle apart with his bare hands. Real saddles, that doesn't happen to. You get what you pay for, don't buy fake stuff. The Evoc soft bike bag. Flying with your bike in a soft bike bag is always great until it isn't. I bought an Evoc soft bike bag, which was really expensive, put a bike inside, gave it to the baggage handlers, and guess what? My bike came back in pieces. I get that hard bike boxes are expensive, but the Evoc soft bag is expensive. It just doesn't make sense. Frankly, I've had better results with a cardboard box and loads of bubble wrap. If you do have one of those soft bags, I would add bubble wrap inside just to try and save your bike, but terrible purchase, never again. I'm always using hard cases. The Physique Arione. Massively popular, I guess, because it looks cool. It was the saddle I spec'd on my first real racing bike, and wow, what a mistake that was. As humans, we're not designed to sit on our genitals on a hard piece of foam, and the Physique Arione is a really hard piece of foam, with no pressure relief built into it whatsoever. It gave me pain, lots of pain. And because it was so painful, it meant I slid off to one side of the saddle and was trying to compensate, which led to other issues on the bike. No thanks, give me a saddle with a pressure relief channel in the middle any day. Try the Physique Antares, the Selle Italia Boost SLR, or the Pro Griffin as a starting point instead. Fixed cleats. You hear rumors that fixed cleats cause knee pain. And anecdotally, I've found that to be true. Most pedal manufacturers offer different cleats with different amounts of float, the degree of rotational movement that your cleat has from side to side. They're usually color-coded, so the most common Shimano cleat is yellow. It has 6 degrees of float. Blue have 2 degrees, and the red are fixed with 0 degrees of float. A little bit of float really helps with imperfections of your pedal stroke and thus prevents pain. I tried fixed cleats, as I'm sure lots of other people have, thinking it would be stiffer or more efficient, and turns out it does just give you knee pain. So try them at your own risk. The Rotor Power Generation 1 is essentially a random number generator. This was the first power meter I ever bought, thankfully at trade price because I was a teenager working in a local bike shop. Rotor is a Spanish company that specialize in making cranksets and chainrings. They have a superb offering when it comes to shorter crank lengths, and they do chainrings of different sizes and different standards, and they do Q rings. They even made a weird hydraulically operated group set at one point, which we've tested before. The first generation Rotor power crank they did though, bear in mind this was back in 2011, was terrible. It just spat out random numbers and never worked properly. This isn't just a stab at Rotor. I'm sure the new power is fantastic. This is just a lesson to never buy the first generation of a piece of tech. Let other people make the mistake for you. Thankfully, I got my money back. Bike hangers from Planet X. We needed a solution for hanging bikes in the studio. So when we commute in, we can put our muddy bike up on the wall. I found these Jobsworth bike hangers for £1 on the internet. Turns out, you get what you pay for. These are the most annoying things in the world. So annoying, in fact, that we avoid parking our bikes on them at all costs. Little hooks flop down, so you need to hold it with one of your hands, and then with your other hand, you have to hold your bike, but that's a two-hand job, so you need 2 people to get a bike up there without really They're just annoying. Do not buy them. The studios ended up with bikes just leaning on everything instead. If you're gonna hang your bike up and leave it forever, then fine. But if you wanna use them regularly, get something else. Velotoze. I'm sure there's some amazing aero gains to be had, but I'm too impatient for this product. They're a waterproof, stretchy overshoe, which were amazing for the first ride I used them on. And then the second time I put them on, they split. They weren't repairable and I had to throw them in the bin. Perhaps this is user error. I am very impatient, but they're still on this list. Oh, and my solution now is to just get wet feet, but put a big fluffy oversock over my shoe, so at least I have warm and wet feet. I think spats are a good shout, but I've never tested them. Jimmy swears by full winter boots with a cleat on the bottom, and he says that's the warmest his feet have ever been. I believe his ones are made by Northwave. Gator Skin hard shells. Continental are one of the biggest tyre manufacturers in the world, and they make some fantastic tyres. But they make one that I hate with a passion. Firstly, it's another bone-shaking ride, even worse than the normal Gator Skin. Now, I don't want to just single out Continental here. I have the same experience with other super puncture protective tyres like the Schwalbe Marathon Plus. They turn your bike into a slug. But they've also been ridiculously hard to get on and off rims every time I've used them. So if you do get a puncture, and you're standing by the side of the road, you'll be there for ages, with very sore thumbs. I know lots of you will disagree with me. The tyres I've listed above are incredibly puncture resistant, so chances are you won't get a puncture. And if that's what you want from a tyre, those are 2 fantastic options. But in my opinion, life's too short to ride rock hard tyres. I'd rather repair the punctures. And especially with tubeless now, it's just sticking a rubber thing into it. Easy. Fake sunglasses from AliExpress. These are real ones. We destroyed all of the fake ones. For a video a while back, we bought fake sunglasses from AliExpress and found them surprisingly to have UV protection. However, when we did the crash test, they shattered and turned into spiky pieces of plastic, which is sort of terrifying if you're going to be wearing them on your face. I don't want spiky pieces of plastic going into my eyeballs. Terrible purchase. Do not buy fake sunglasses from AliExpress. Stan's Dart. They make some fantastic tubeless sealant, but man have I had a bad experience with the dart they make for repairing punctures. Looking at the internet, it seems like I'm not the only one. It's like a double-ended tubeless plug with a premium price tag. Problem is mine completely fell apart when I tried to use it. Luckily, I had a shot with the other end of the tool, because there's another one on the back. But exactly the same thing happened and it fell apart, leaving me to just use one of my friend's very affordable little rubber worms and a normal tubeless tool. Much better. They've never let me down, and they're a hell of a lot cheaper. Also, the tool only comes with 2 darts, and then you have to buy a refill for more. Nah. The one-wheel Burley trailer. You might have seen this mentioned in other videos on this channel. I cycled across the USA with my friend Justin. He's a wheelchair user, and it turns out strapping his wheelchair to the back of his bike and have it vibrating along the road is a bad thing, because it ended up snapping. I bought a one-wheel trailer so we could put his wheelchair in the back and thought it would be a fantastic solution going forwards. Turns out, with any significant weight in it, it pushes your bike around and it just feels very unsafe. Okay, I get this is a pretty niche use case, but if I was to carry a dog or carry children on the back of a bike with a trailer, I'd be getting a 2-wheeled one. The 2-wheel trailers tend to have an articulated arm that just fixes on one side of your rear axle, which means your bike still feels like a normal bike. It handles the same, you're just going a little bit slower. We switched to a 2-wheel trailer afterwards and it was fantastic. Both of these trailers were made by Burley and they were extremely well made. The one-wheel trailer is just only appropriate for very small loads. Invisible bike stands. Can't see it. Okay, invisible bike stands. We bought our original invisible bike stands a while back so we can film B-roll outdoors and indoors with the bike standing up on its own. The problem is, we lost them all because they're invisible, which Velotoze found very funny and sent us some new ones. The problem with these is that they're not very stable, so you put a very expensive bike leaning on this and then a very small gust of wind blows it over and all of the bikes we end up reviewing have scratches on the derailleurs and the shifters. Sorry, every bike brand we've ever worked with. Please can someone just invent something better? And last on today's list, the bike bungee. Have you ever had to tow another bike rider behind you? Well, I have. And I've also been the person being towed a concerning amount of times. Cue the bike bungee. A retractable cord with a hook on it that goes on your handlebars and around the person in front's seat post. We found it on wish.com. The problem is, it doesn't have any flex in the cable. So it's completely useless. One time many years ago, I was cycling up Stelvio, a massive mountain in Italy, with my friend Justin, who rides a hand bike. Turns out hand bikes are really heavy, and there's lots of switchbacks on Stelvio, making it extremely difficult for him to get up the mountain. We decided to tie inner tubes to the front of his bike and the back of our bikes, and they worked amazingly. You tie 2 inner tubes together, hook them on, they have insane amounts of stretch, and they're super strong. If you have 2 bicycles, you loop it over your seat post and over your handlebars, and you can tow someone up a really steep hill. Use 2 for a bit more length, make sure you're in a safe environment, and you're gonna have something way better and way cheaper than a purpose-made bungee that it didn't work well. Have you bought some terrible things? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to this channel for more.